I finally finished my memory file folder junk journal. Instead of doing the usual flip through, I wanted to share my start to finish process. As I reflect on my journey of creating this journal, I identified 5 steps that led to its completion, which I'll be sharing with you today. The seasons have changed, and there are so many new book projects that I want to start, but it was important for me to finish this one before I moved on to the next. I'm sure some of you can relate to having half-finished projects strewn about in your craft space. I'll tell myself that I'll get to it when inspiration strikes, or when I feel called to work in that journal. But this approach to creating is perpetuating a myth about creativity. Creativity is not an unwieldy bolt of electricity that I must chase, nor do I need to wait for it to hit in the right spot to be inspired to finish a project. It can be controlled and channeled. If you're new here, my name is Bree from 1134 Press, where we share bookmaking, journaling, and papercraft inspiration to help you document your life. And if your wish is to start a new book project and see it through the end, then you must have a plan. And these are the 5 steps I took to complete my latest junk journal. Step 1. Finding inspiration and deciding on a theme. When I want to start a new junk journal project, I first ask myself, what story do I want to tell? And in this particular case, I wanted to tell the story of my 3rd wedding anniversary. And from there, I'll journal about the actual day, thinking about all 5 of my senses. What did I touch? What did I see, feel, hear, taste? I'll write down everything that's concrete. And from there, I'll ask myself abstract questions about that day. What emotions did I experience? What lessons did I learn? Or did any event during that day change my perspective on myself or humanity, etc.? I'll even take note of other memories that I'm reminded of that are outside of the memory that I'm trying to document. So that initial journal entry serves as the backbone for the rest of the project. I'll consider what I've written to decide on theme and aesthetic choices. After rereading my entry, the theme that I settled on for this project was that romantic love is a journey and is as old as time, which then led me to the next step. Step 2, creating the skeleton, collecting materials, pages, and binding. This step is one of my favorites. This is the time where I'll watch YouTube videos, scroll on Pinterest and Instagram to gain inspiration for techniques. I'll take notes on things that I may want to try as it pertains to layout, materials, and so forth. And then I'll start creating a journal kit, which you can learn more about in this video. But as I'm choosing papers and materials to create my kit, I'm constantly reminding myself of the theme for this journal. Does this vintage ledger paper represent that love is old as time? And although that may be a silly question to ask, it's something that I repeat to myself or ask as I'm choosing materials to make sure that I'm staying on the path to best represent the story that I want to tell. Step 3, adding content, prompts, and decorating. So I believe that there are 3 types of people that participate in the junk journal community. There is the ephemera collector, the bookmaker, and the journaler, which I don't think is an actual word, but I say it all the time, but you know what I mean. And then there's people who either participate in 2 of these aspects or do all 3. I'm curious if you agree with me in this generalization, and also where do you think you fall along in that spectrum? Just let me know in the comments. But the thing that I love about junk journaling is actually using my journals, writing in them, and collaging. For me, what makes junk journaling special is using writing and collaging to create narrative. So this step takes the most time for me. So to create content for my junk journal, I start with prompts. For instance, in this itinerary booklet, I gave myself the prompt to create an itinerary for the events of that day. And in this matchbook, I was given the prompt Love by Jeannie Desiree, a fellow YouTuber, but then expanded on this prompt by thinking about love documents. This transpired into me using quotes from my wedding vows, and there are tutorials on how I created these elements for you to watch as well. Once I've decided on prompts to help guide the content for each page, I then use decoration as a way to highlight or conceal my writing. Step 4. Finding the inspiration to continue. This next step doesn't always have to happen after step 3, but it is helpful to know that I have a plan when I feel uninspired to journal. But this step can be inserted anywhere within the process of starting and finishing a junk journal. So I found that when I'm experiencing a lull in my creativity or have been bitten by the shiny new project idea bug, I ask myself these 3 questions. Did I tell the story? What's stopping me from finishing my book? And what is it about this new project that is calling me to it? I find the answer to that first question by referring back to that first journal entry. And then I look at what I've done so far. Did I capture the essence of what I initially tried to achieve? If yes, then maybe the book is complete. If no, then I need to ask myself the second question. What is stopping me from completing this project? Is it time constraints? Am I bored of my materials? Have I ran out of new ideas on how to finish my pages? Or do I need to revise the story that I'm trying to tell? They say that knowing is half the battle, so once you've identified what is stopping you from finishing your project, then you can create a solution to help push you along. And if I've identified the problem and came up with solutions, but I still feel like that new project is nagging me to just start it, then the next thing I do is ask myself, what is it about that new project that is calling me? Is it because the new project is requiring me to work with a new material that I'm really excited to try out? Or is it that that new project is more relevant to who I am today and what's important to me in the moment? If that's the case, then I go back to a separate journal and I will reflect on those questions and see if there's a way where I can pull whatever's inspiring me to go to that new project and incorporate it into the current project that I'm working on. So for instance, I came across these really cool vintage library cards and I had a really great idea for a new book project to use them in. But instead of just jumping ship and starting to work on that project, I found a way to appropriate the way that the text was laid out onto the card that I can then incorporate as journaling cards for the current project. So in that example, I was able to capture the lightning of creativity in a bottle and channel it into the direction that is more purposeful and meaningful to my initial goal, which is to finish the junk journal. Step 5, deciding when a project is finished. The last step, which I think is the most important one, is deciding when a junk journal is finished. You can work in one junk journal for the rest of your life, and that is okay and totally valid if that is the creative contract that you created between you and that project. But if you're making a book like the one I'm sharing with you today, where you have a specific goal with a beginning and an end, then I ask myself 2 questions. Did I tell my story and did I express the themes as well as I could within the allotted space? If I answer yes to any of these questions, then congratulations for me. I can archive the journal and move on to the next project. But if I answer no to any of these questions, then I go back to the set of questions from step 4 and make a list of things that I can do within the journal to get it to finish. But if, as I'm making my list of things that I can do within my journal and it's kind of coming up short, then I need to ask myself deeper questions about my relationship with this project or myself as an artist, such as, am I being a perfectionist again? Or why don't I feel like I can move on from this project? Someone commented on the community tab about how whenever they're feeling like they're comparing themselves to others in relationship to the project that they're working on, a question that they ask themselves is, if someone else created this book and presented it to them, would they feel happy about it? And if the question is yes, then yeah, you might be too hard on yourself. And that's something that I like to refer to or remind myself of when I feel like it's just hard for me to let go of a project. So I hope you found those tips helpful, and I want to say thank you to returning viewers. Our little break was definitely needed, and I appreciate you for coming back to watch this video. We're going to get back into some traditional bookmaking for the month of October, so definitely make sure you subscribe if you are not already subscribed. And Gary and I have been working on trying to create content that's exclusive for our website. And if you are not already part of our newsletter, definitely sign up for that because we got some cool things planned for upcoming months. More information and details are in the description below. So with that being said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.